Good afternoon. I'd like to express my gratitude to Lieutenant General Hartman for his attendance at today's hearing. Before I proceed any further, I want to acknowledge the incredible momentum set by General Hawk in the strategic transformation needed to meet the evolving threats of today and the emerging challenges of tomorrow in cyberspace. General Hawk was a strong leader with a deep knowledge of the art and science of cyber warfare, hard-earned over 3 decades of service to our country. Men and women capable of leading the National Security Agency and the United States Cyber Command are in short supply. Such leaders require years of experience to develop with deliberate and dedicated career focus. To put it more directly, we do not have enough of these types of leaders, and a loss of any one of them without strong justification is disappointing. The departure of General Hawk is a loss for our nation, but will be a tremendous gain for any private or public entity where he decides to lend his expertise and leadership. I wish him Godspeed. That said, as our adversaries watch this hearing, it will be clear that no matter the scenario, our cyber mission forces are ready. Lieutenant General Hartman's presence is more than just an annual congressional activity. His presence is more than just a general annual congressional activity. It shows the strength and resiliency of the Cyber Mission Force. It is a testament to how much this command has matured since its inception in 2009 and the steadfast nature of our military, civilian and uniformed, to step up and fight when the nation needs them. It also reflects the absolute importance of the dual hat arrangement. In the face of unexpected change, there remains tight integration of cyber and intelligence operations thanks to alignment under a single leader. Such an arrangement remains paramount in future decisions of General Hawk's formal successor. I have had the pleasure of working with Lieutenant General Hartman in his prior role as Deputy Commander of the United States Cyber Command, and I am confident in his ability to lead these organizations through this transition, maintaining the combat capability of a force that operates in an environment of constant change. He is one of the few with a strong understanding of this domain, built over decades of experience. The importance of the cyber domain cannot be overstated. Our adversaries understand the dynamic and permeable nature of cyberspace and have clearly demonstrated their intent to exploit it to their advantage. General Hartman, as we discussed in detail during our closed session, the threats our nation faces in the cyber domain have only intensified since we last convened for an update from Cybercom a year ago. The detection of additional Chinese advanced persistent threat groups throughout the past year has reinforced both the determination of our adversaries to own this domain and their technical capability to do so. With the release of the Chinese Generative Artificial Intelligence Large Language Model, or DeepSeek R1, earlier this year, competitive advantage will now be measured in weeks and months, not years. Our cyber mission force must be ready with training, technology, and operational structure to deter and defend against this new reality. I have been encouraged by the work the command has conducted on Cybercom 2.0 in collaboration with the services and the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Cyber Policy. I want to hear what policy changes are needed to realize the vision behind this effort. And while I understand the implementation plan has not been delivered to Congress, our adversaries are not waiting for our process to conclude. I look forward to hearing more from you about the efforts underway to implement Cybercom 2.0 and how you intend to make sure the force is maturing to conduct persistent engagement in this competitive environment. I will now recognize Ranking Member Reed from the full committee at Senator Rosen's request for opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator Rosen. I just want to take a moment to recognize General Hawk for his 35 years of dedicated service to this country and to the United States Air Force. His sudden and inexplicable firing is disrespectful to his service, but also disrespectful to every military member in or out of uniform, and an indication that their service and sacrifice is in no way respected by this administration. The callous nature of the decision, the result of a meeting with a partisan conspiracy theorist, not on any kind of informed or experienced judgment, puts our security at grave risk and cannot be tolerated or continued. We salute a dedicated American for his service and sacrifice, and his family for standing with him, and wish him well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Rosen. Ranking Member Rosen.
Yes. Thank you, Chair Rounds, and thank you, Chair and Ranking Member Reed. Of course, this is such an important hearing, and I appreciate General Hartman, our meetings that we had yesterday, and your team, all of your service, your commitment to the mission, and on the success, because that means that we're all kept safe. And you're also here on very short notice, as we've all been talking about, and we appreciate that as well. And so I look forward to continuing our conversations and our continued partnership to ensure that success. And like my colleagues, I want to begin by addressing a matter of significant concern. The sudden and inexplicable firing of General Hawk, a trusted and dedicated Air Force officer for over 34 years, a true patriot. His abrupt and unjustified removal was conducted in the dead of night, with absolutely no consultation with Congress, the full committee, or this subcommittee. And, according to press reports, it was at the request of a private individual outside of the government, outside the chain of command, who has a long record of peddling in vicious conspiracy theories. This action compromises cybercom's and the NSA ability to keep Americans safe. The United States faces major cyber threats from foreign adversaries, China, Russia, Iran, near daily cyber attacks on our critical infrastructure. And at the same time, we are engaged in ongoing operations against multiple threats across the globe, from Russian aggression against Ukraine to Iranian-backed proxies in the Middle East and North Africa. Given the dangers facing the U.S. and our troops, it is inexplicable and unconscionable that the President would, at the mere request of an online provocateur, remove the leader of Cybercom completely without cause, and in doing so risk undermining vital intelligence operations. Moreover, General Hawk has been a trusted leader. His experience and expertise have been crucial in guiding and shaping the efforts of U.S. Cyber Command and our overall national defense posture. At a time when our adversaries are constantly evolving their cyber capabilities, whether it's from state actors like Russia, China, Iran, or North Korea, or non-state actors with nefarious intent, leadership, continuity, and clear vision are more critical than ever. Cybersecurity and cyber operations are not and cannot be a partisan issue. It is a national security imperative, and the threat environment, as we all know, continues to intensify every single day. We must maintain experienced leadership to counter the ever-evolving cyber challenges facing our country. As members of this committee and the full committee, we must demand clarity from the administration about the rationale for this decision, and we must not rest until we have answers and accountability from both President Trump and Secretary Hegseth. This afternoon, though, our focus will be on our nation's cyber capabilities and how Congress can help support the critical work that Cybercom personnel do every single day. I might say 24 hours a day, 24/7, 365. And so I look forward to hearing from General Hartman and to discussing how we can meet our nation's challenge. And today, in the future, and over the course of this Congress, again, I know how much, General Hartman, you are invested in the mission of Cybercom, how much you know about it, your experience, your expertise, and how invested you are in the ongoing success in combating cyber threats going forward. And I do look forward to working with you on that. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ranking Member Rosen. And with that, Lieutenant General Hartman, welcome. Thank you for your service. We thank your family as well for their sacrifice. And there's a lot of things that you literally don't get an opportunity to share with the American public because of the type of responsibilities that you have. But today, you have an opportunity to share with the American people and with this committee a little bit about what you are doing, and we welcome your opening remarks at this time, sir.
Good afternoon, Chairman Rounds, Ranking Member Rosen. Thank you for your unwavering support and for the honor of representing U.S. Cyber Command today. I'm here to discuss the evolving strategic landscape and our approach as we look forward to 2026. Cybercom's mission is straightforward. We defend the nation from cyber threats. We protect the Department of Defense's networks, and we support the Joint Force. We are dedicated to ensuring the Department's mission advantage and providing options across the conflict continuum to the President, the Secretary of Defense, and the American people. Achieving our assigned objectives in the mission set forth by the President of peace through strength requires a force equipped with a strong warrior ethos and the lethality necessary to meet our national objectives. Deterrence is essential to our strategy. In cyberspace, we're focused on maintaining a credible capability that dissuades adversaries from targeting our critical infrastructure. Cyberspace is a rapidly evolving domain influenced by technological advancements, which necessitates a close partnership with industry. As the environment changes, Cybercom will adapt by swiftly developing and deploying new capabilities. Our commitment is to lead from the front, staying ahead of threats through a proactive and agile approach. Our people are our greatest asset. Capturing our ethos, we win with people. The dedicated professionals of Cybercom are at the forefront, defending networks and countering threats every day. Their innovation and perseverance are essential to maintaining our nation's advantage in cyberspace. But we're not alone in the fight. Our allies and partners are crucial components of our collective defense. Key collaborations like our partnership with the National Security Agency enhance our nation's security by creating a unified effort that surpasses the capabilities of our adversaries. Moving forward in 2026, our focus is not only on maintaining readiness, but also elevating the level of mastery within our cyber forces. Our initiative, Cybercom 2.0, seeks to overmatch our adversaries' quantity with the quality of our people, capabilities, and operations. Modernizing our force design and rapidly integrating new technologies are vital components of our strategy. Here, partnership with industry and academia become indispensable, enabling us to stay at the forefront of cybersecurity advancements. Our adversaries are persistent and they are sophisticated. State-sponsored cyber actors from China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia pose significant threats to our critical infrastructure and military systems. China is the most persistent threat, while Russia has gained significant capabilities through their ongoing operations. To counter these threats, Cybercom develops robust deterrent strategies, ensuring that any attempt to undermine our security will face an overwhelming response. An essential part of our future strategy includes the accelerated integration of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence offers unparalleled speed and precision in cyberspace operations, making it a key enabler for anticipating and countering emerging threats. By expanding AI across our operations, we will strengthen our deterrence posture and maintain superiority in the cyber domain. True excellence in AI requires a world-class workforce. Through initiatives like Cybercom 2.0, Cybercom will continue to collaborate with the department to develop, pilot, and implement new tools and opportunities to invest in our workforce. A world-class workforce requires world-class training, facilities, and capabilities to excel and thrive. With the support and assistance we receive from the department and from Congress, Cybercom is well positioned to achieve these world-class results. Our work is far from finished, but with your continued partnership, I'm confident we will succeed in defending our nation. Cybercom is prepared to rise to the challenge, outpacing our adversaries, securing our interests, and protecting our future. Thank you, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, General Hartman. I'll begin. In the wake of the various persistent cyber threats originating from the People's Republic of China over the last 2 years, it is my firm conclusion that the importance of the dual hat is as important today as it has ever been. Given these events, how has the dual hat arrangement between U.S. Cybercom and NSA evolved to address the emerging threats from our adversaries?
Senator, thank you for your question. The relationship between Cybercom and NSA continues to evolve so that we really achieve two key objectives. All right, the first is that we see and understand what our adversary is doing. The second piece of that is that we enable Cybercom or other elements of the U.S. government in order to operate, in order to defend our critical infrastructure, our key networks, and the Department of Defense Information Network. The ability for us to execute those operations, clearly understanding that we have to act, but that we also have to protect things like intelligent sources and methods, is fundamentally important to the dual hat. From my standpoint, and Senator, I've been sitting on the campus of the National Security Agency in Cybercom for most of the last 15 years. I've continued to see this partnership evolve. And our ability to execute increasingly more precise operations is fundamentally because the dual hat allows me, in my current capacity, to move with the speed and agility of unity of effort that is required, but it also forces leaders across the organization to collaborate, to do the hard work, and to provide the best options for the national security of the country. That's what I believe is the importance of the dual hat, and that is really where I believe we've evolved to.
Recognizing that this is an open setting and we can't get into specifics, I think another item, not only the dual hat has been successful, but also the NSPM 13, which was incorporated under President Trump in his first term, I believe has been very successful in the process, the determining of when you can do your offensive cyber operations in an efficient manner, and making sure that all parties involved are appropriately apprised, but there is a decision process in place. Can you talk a little bit about the successes in terms of just the magnitude of the successes that you have seen achieved since the creation of the National Security Policy Memorandum 13 by President Trump in his first term?
Thank you, Senator Rounds, for the question. NSPM 13 is a repeatable, sustainable, agile process that is recognized across the Department of Defense and across the interagency that allows us to move at the speed and agility that's required based on our intelligence, based on operational requirements, and it has increased our ability to execute cyber operations tenfold.
Excellent. Thank you. This is just to give the American public some sense of what happens when you do the dual hat, and you also have the ability to make the decisions and to move quickly, how quickly we can actually accommodate our need for offensive cyber operations, and I thank you for that information. Lieutenant General Hartman, in the command's testimony last year, General Hawk previewed the Cybercom 2.0 initiative to focus on delivering a bold step forward in the future of the cyber mission force. What is the status of this effort, and what are the major recommendations of this plan?
Chairman Rounds, thanks for the question. As you're well aware, one of the impetus for Cybercom 2.0 was Section 1533 of last year's National Defense Authorization Act. Based on that, we put together a planning team and really studied hundreds of different references over the last year and studied different force presentation models. We briefed the recommendations of Cybercom 2.0 to the last administration, and the Secretary of Defense approved it. We briefed this to the new Secretary of Defense, who asked us to work the implementation strategy that we were previously working on a 6-month timeline down to 45 days. And so we brought a operational planning team together, or really what we called a cross-functional team. And over the last 45 days, we've submitted a series of recommendations that we have concurrence generally from across the services and across the department, which honestly is pretty extraordinary in a 45-day time period for us to get that level of consensus. Those recommendations are really built around how do we improve talent management in the force? How do we improve advanced training in the force? And how do we improve our ability to innovate and bring new capabilities to the force at the scale and speed that we need to compete with our adversaries? That seems relatively simple. It's about 80 pages. We've delivered it to the department. The department is going through a very reasonable process, and we're pending the results of that feedback from the department, Chairman.
Thank you, General. Ranking Member Rosen.
Well, thank you. I want to talk a little bit maybe about policy challenges. So as we continue to evolve and develop our cyber capabilities to address the emerging threats, it's clear that there's a number of challenges, both within the Department of Defense and across agencies, that can impede everybody's progress. And so I'd like to ask you about these obstacles and how they impact Cybercom's efforts to stay ahead of the growing cyber threat landscape. And so we know that you have many challenges, but based on Cybercom's plan for development, could you speak to some of the key policy obstacles that remain challenges for your operations, both within the Department of Defense and in the broader interagency context?
Senator Rosen, thanks for the question. First, I just want to highlight that I think we have made significant progress. One of the things we have discussed previously is the ability for us to support critical infrastructure that is off DODN, but critical to the department's mission. We do appreciate the support from Congress in giving us the federal labs authority that has allowed us to execute cooperative research agreements. I know that we've talked about Guam being a key component of this, and I'm happy to report that we have executed 6 different CRADAs over the last 6 months with a number of very important critical infrastructure organizations in Guam. And our assessment is we have reduced the threat that those organizations face by about 25%. And so that has been really key for us. We continue to work to better integrate the reserve component into our operations to help secure critical infrastructure. And it is an area where we think we need both an improvement from a policy standpoint, but we also need improvement from an appropriation standpoint. So we're able to better leverage the reserve component force in order to support some of these critical mission sets.
So could you elaborate a little further maybe with the primary sticking points that would hinder that coordination, effectiveness, expansion of our cyber capabilities? And are you taking some steps there, or how can we help as we begin to think about what those policy and appropriations needs might be?
Senator Rosen, thanks for the question. I think on the defense of critical infrastructure, there continues to be a key role that a number of different organizations will take. And I don't believe the department will necessarily be the lead, but there are recommendations that we will bring to the committee to how we might better work with organizations like the Department of Homeland Security, certainly organizations like the National Guard Bureau, and we do believe that there are some policy recommendations that will work through the process that will be beneficial. I didn't talk about the United States Coast Guard. The United States Coast Guard has been a key partnership over the last 12 months. We have signed a memorandum of understanding with the Coast Guard. And so as the Coast Guard executes operations under DHS authorities, we do have the ability to support their operations in a case where they have an authority but they don't have the capacity. And certainly as we look at the security of port facilities, critical infrastructure that supports port facilities, that is we think, a very important MOU. At the same time, if we have a Cybercom mission where we're operating on a facility that is specifically suited to the expertise the Coast Guard brings, they also have the ability to reinforce our operations. And so I do think we've made progress. I think there are additional policy recommendations. Senator, I look forward to working with the committee in order to provide those recommendations.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about cyber workforce, because you can't do any of this without maintaining a robust cyber workforce. Our defense posture depends on it. We have to be sure that they're capable, that they're equipped, and that they're trained. Like you're talking about, these are our challenges, to constantly be training, working on the mission, because the threats are ever evolving. The cyber domain is incredibly dynamic, and achieving mastery is just crucial, and it isn't done overnight. So what steps are you taking in cybercom to make sure that we're keeping our personnel ahead of the curve? And talk to me about the workforce cuts and the hiring freeze, and how that's impacting your ability to meet the mission.
Senator Rosen, thanks. First of all, I would like to highlight that over the last year, we've had a number of things that have significantly impacted how we're managing, particularly our civilian workforce. The first is the cyber accepted service. The ability to hire under CES has reduced the lag time by 45%, really from over a year to less than 6 months now, in order to bring civilian personnel on board. That has been impactful. We went through a transition from what we call a combatant command support agency, from the Department of the Air Force to the Department of the Army. I'm in the Army, but I'm not saying one is better than the other. But the transition, did provide a little bit of friction as we worked from one service to the other. We transitioned to the Army last June, and that has improved sort of a repeatable process to bring the civilians on board. And so, and then there have been things like the 4092 authorizations from Congress that have been important and allowed us to hire really, really high-end talent. So I think we are on a glide path. The current hiring freeze has impacted our ability to bring new hires into the force, and we'll continue to work with the department on the way ahead for that. We have, however, not been impacted by any cuts. We have been able to go back to the department and get an exemption. It is important because, as I think you're aware, Senator, we're only a little over 50% manned with our civilian force, but it's because those authorizations have all come really in the last year and a half. So we do think it's important to get the civilian hiring freeze moved, and we do think it's important to be able to rapidly bring talent into the force.
Thank you.
General, I have just one other question. In early 2024, Congress received a briefing on the command's AI roadmap as required by the fiscal year 2023 National Defense Authorization Act. Given the release of the Chinese generative AI model, DeepSeek R1, what steps has the command taken to accelerate delivery of the capabilities and milestones in this roadmap, and what is needed to make certain that we will be successful in this acceleration?
Chairman Rounds, thanks so much for the question. So over a year ago, we produced, again, based on a congressional requirement, so thanks, our AI roadmap that laid out a plan for the next 5 years. Very close partnership with NSA and their artificial intelligence experts. And a little over a year ago, we decided that we had a really good plan from a staff standpoint, but where Cybercom could add value was in operationalizing these capabilities. So we took the majority of the staff portion of that AI task force, and we moved it to the Cyber National Mission Force. We went out and hired some additional AI talent, really focused on 90-day pilot projects that we could evaluate, and if successful, we could scale across the force. And if they weren't successful or didn't meet a need, that we would then focus focus our efforts elsewhere. And so over the last 12 months, we have executed artificial intelligence pilots to secure the DoD, right? This is at the edge of the DoD network. This is across network devices, and it's at our endpoints. It has been very successful, and it is where we're moving to in the future. We have integrated large language models into our Hunt Forward kits. We have integrated large language models into our offensive capabilities. We have partnered very closely with DARPA under Project Constellation and continue to transition capabilities, mostly based on artificial intelligence, to the force. Additionally, Senator, we have and will continue to work with the department on long-term resourcing that ensures we maintain advantage over China and any other adversary. I will say, we were all, paid close attention to and were alarmed by the DeepSeek model, all right? But the United States of America builds the best software in the world, all right? And we believe working with private industry, working across the government, that unique advantage in building the best software in the world will allow us to stay ahead of the Chinese.
Thank you, General. Ranking Member Rosen.
Thank you. I want to build a little bit on Senator Brown's AI question because we look to the future of cybersecurity. How else do we need, besides artificial intelligence, how do we need to adapt our training and development pipeline to ensure that our human workforce achieves mastery in the cyber domain? And additionally, with the increasing demands on our personnel and the nature of the cyber operations, how else can we perhaps leverage industry or commercial training opportunities to supplement the more specific on-net training that takes place in a classified environment?
Senator, thanks for the question. We've talked about Cybercom 2.0, and one of the big ideas in Cybercom 2.0 is advanced training. All right, and right now, Cybercom is very fortunate, and the services have done a very good job in order to present a C2 force. And so the first time in the history of the command over the last year, right, we've reached C2, which means manned 80% in the aggregate and trained to 70%. But as we look at things like artificial intelligence and cloud computing and data scientists and other advanced capabilities, we do think that the model we've laid out in Cybercom 2.0 is really where we need to go. And it's my role with service-like authorities and as a joint force trainer to take service members and civilians that are presented to us by the services and take them from that basic level and make them masters, okay? And that is masters in data science, that's masters in cloud computing, that's masters in artificial intelligence. And then immediately take those lessons and feed them back not only into the training base from the services, but also into our operational organization. That is really what the best way that we think we can get after the training part of this. We were also working very closely with private industry. The CRADA authority that the committee has given us also allows us to execute CRADAs with private industry. And we continue to work very closely with UARCs and FFRDCs who provide us access to really high-end, really responsive talent, particularly as it relates to artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Thank you.
And I do believe we have another member that is just arriving, and I would simply ask, Senator King, are you ready with questions?
I'm always ready.
All right.
I knew how he
Kinda
was
thought
going to
he would
answer
be,
that.
yeah.
He's always ready.
Senator King.
Thank you very much, General, for being here today. I take it my colleagues have talked. I'm sorry, I was at a hearing upstairs in the Intelligence Committee, and it was an open hearing, so I can even tell you about it. But in any case, I understand that my colleagues have talked a lot about the firing of General Hawk and how unfortunate that was, so I don't need to plow that ground. One of the issues that I'm principally concerned with in cyber is that we have no deterrent. Our strategy in all of our other military and national security approaches is based upon deterrence, except in cyber, where we continually are attacked, as we were Salt Typhoon, for example, going all the way back to Sony. Nothing ever happens to the adversary. And my belief is that until we start to impose costs, and they understand that there will be costs, these attacks are going to continue. They're cheap, and there's really no consequences. If you're sitting in the Kremlin and somebody said, let's interfere with the next election in the United States, your answer would be, why not? It's not going to really cost us anything, and they don't respond. We're not at any risk. Do you agree with me that we need to have a more stronger retaliatory capacity, number one, and demonstrate the will to use it? Otherwise, these attacks are simply going to continue.
Senator, thanks for your question. It's good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
So, Senator, we certainly agree that we need to continue to improve our capability in order to deter and respond to attacks. I will tell you that from our standpoint, there is certain activity that adversaries, to include China, will always continue to conduct. And we have got to focus on the most credible capabilities to deter operations that significantly impact the national security. Just like you, I am aware of Salt Typhoon and Volt Typhoon, and while we're certainly concerned about that, and we will certainly develop a broad range of options to deal with that, I will tell you that the fact that we are able to see and observe that activity, and we were able to work with industry partners in order to build defenses against that activity is something that provides us some advantage vis-a-vis adversaries like the Chinese. And I assure you, we are dedicated to developing options in order to counter that. And I would be more than happy to work with your staff in a different setting to provide you some details.
Well, I understand that you have capacity and you have capabilities. We demonstrated that in 2018 with the Hunt Forward, Defend Forward that General Nakasone initiated. So I understand we have the capacity. My problem is we don't have a doctrine. We don't have deterrence doesn't work unless the other side knows about it. Dr. Strangelove, why didn't you tell us about the doomsday machine? Well, the premier likes surprises. A deterrent isn't a deterrent. It takes three things: capacity, which we have; will, which we apparently don't have; and knowledge of the adversary that we have those two things and that they're being held at risk. So I'm not questioning the capabilities. What I'm questioning is, here we are with Salt Typhoon, 2 or 3, 6 months ago, nothing's happened, no response, like I said, we haven't even responded to the Sony attack, and that was 10 or 15 years ago. There's never a price to be paid by our adversaries, and until we develop that theory, it seems to the concept of deterrence, and let them know that they're at risk, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. I understand defending and working with our private sector partners, that's all good. But you can't patch your way out of this. There's got to be, I believe, a credible deterrent that the adversaries understand that if they attack us in cyberspace, they will pay a price. It doesn't necessarily have to be in cyberspace. It may be some other kind of harm that puts them at risk. But the point is, until we start to develop that doctrine and let our adversaries know, it's going to keep happening.
So, Senator, acknowledge your concern. Again, look forward to working with the committee, with the department, and I do think we could provide you some more information in a closed session.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator King. I do have one last question for you, General. And then I will allow Ranking Member Rosen a final question as well. Last year, the Defense Science Board briefed Congress on the status of the Joint Cyber Warfighting Architecture, or JCWA. How is this command addressing the Defense Science Board's concerns about excessive bureaucracy and lengthy acquisition timelines that prevent cutting-edge cyber technologies from being integrated into the Joint Cyber Warfighting Architecture before they become obsolete?
Chairman Rounds, thanks for your question. In the 2022 National Defense Authorization Act, Cybercom was given a number of things. We put it under the banner of service-like authorities. One of those was acquisition authorities. The other piece was enhanced budget control. And under those authorities, we have consolidated our efforts as it relates to JICWA, and we are fielding relevant, agile, and not obsolete capabilities that are positioning us to execute our UCP mission to defend the nation, as well as to support key geographic commanders like Admiral Paparo in Indo-PACOM. And we have a plan. We have a plan to take the 6 programs that are part of JICWA that have currently been developed by the services and to bring those underneath our program executive office, really focused on offensive, defensive, and enterprise level operations. And it's working, Senator, and look forward to providing you and the committee additional updates on that.
Excellent. Senator Rosen.
Thank you. I actually have a compound last question. So I want a clarification on some terms that we use on about the PRC. So could you explain for the layman what living off the land tactics are and why it's important from a cyber defense perspective? And the compound part of the question is, and finally, what do you really want us to know that we haven't asked you today? We know you've had just a short time to prepare for this, but maybe we'll give you that final word there too.
Hey, thanks, Senator Rosen. So living off the land, really describes when an adversary gains access to your network and then uses legitimate user credentials and legitimate user behavior in order to live in your network in a way that makes it really hard to detect them using, a standard antivirus or alert-based program.
Thank you.
And
Secretly living in the basement, I suppose, then, right?
Right. And so it makes it really difficult because it's, it's the behavior that you've got to detect. Mm-hmm. But look, we do know how to do that. Mm-hmm. We have gained a significant amount of knowledge. Artificial intelligence is going to help us. Mm-hmm. Working with private industry is going to help us, and we're dedicated to continue to get after that problem.
Thank you.
And then I have, I think Senator King had one more question as well.
I didn't.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry. Go
apologize,
ahead.
Senator.
Go ahead.
I didn't answer the second part of her question.
Go ahead.
And so I think the thing that I would most like the committee to take away is Congress and the department have given us authorities. All right, they've given us service-like authorities. They've given us control of the resources that apply to the COF1, so the Cyber Mission Force, mm-hmm. and the headquarters that employ them. We've been given acquisition authorities. We've been given joint force trainer authorities, and all those things are enabling us to evolve the command in a way that better enables us to compete with China or any other adversary. It is working. Okay, there are things that slow down the process. Continuing resolutions slow down the process. Hiring freezes slow down the process. Transitions between one combatant command support agency and the other slow down the process. But we have a plan, we're executing it, and it's all about the ecosystem that we have to build that provides precise intelligence to really smart capability developers that then field it to a force that has been trained and operationally aligned to receive that capability. All right? We're doing it with DARPA. We're doing it with the S&T community. We're doing it with the communities across our services that have significant investments in cyber capabilities. And we're doing it based on operational requirements of geographic combatant commanders like Indo-PACOM and based on cybercom requirements to defend the nation. And so that's really the message I have here. Those authorities, those resources, they're relatively new, but they are allowing us to really increase our ability to really get after all the things that we've talked about here.
Thank you.
Senator King.
I realize this isn't exactly in your lane, but it's certainly close. You talked in your prior answer about the work with the private sector and alerting them to the threats and to what was going on, and that's very important. But the principal agency that actually has performed that function as an interface between the federal government and the private sector was CISA, or is CISA. And my concern is that we've seen reports of cuts at CISA up to 90%. I believe 40% may be the latest number. And I think they've eliminated the office that interfaced with state election officials that enabled them to share threat data and information and protections with state election officials to keep our elections safe and secure. I just am puzzled at a time of heightened cyber threat that we're essentially unilaterally disarming one of the most important tools that we have to protect ourselves in cyberspace. Do you have any views on the dismantling of CISA?
Senator King, thanks for the question. To be honest, I do not understand what the actual decisions are for any, reduction or reorganization as it relates to CISA. I will tell you that we continue to talk to CISA leadership, and we continue to share information with CISA leadership as it relates to threats that are relevant to their mission for defenses in the United States.
Mr. Chairman, I realize that, again, this isn't his lane, but this subcommittee is dealing with the issue of cyber, and CISA is one of our most important tools to deal with that, and they've been very effective. And having worked with some members of the private sector that have worked with CISA, it took years to build a trusting relationship between this government agency and these companies, as well as the state election officials. I remember when that initiative first started, and those state election officials were very reluctant to interface with this federal agency, but they became very, I wouldn't say dependent, but they became very engaged with CISA in the last several elections, and to basically dismantle that capability, I think, is very dangerous for national security at a time of heightened cyber attack. We're under attack right now, and to be unilaterally disarming and disabling what amounts to a carrier fleet, I think is very damaging to the security of the country. Thank you.
I think your concern is noted, Senator. With that, I want to thank General Hartman for coming in on short notice and participating in this subcommittee hearing. This does conclude the open portion of today's Cybersecurity Subcommittee hearing. I'd like to once again thank our witnesses, Lieutenant General Hartman, for his testimony. For the information of members, questions for the record will be due to the committee within 2 business days of the conclusion of the hearing. And with that, Senator, any final remarks?
Thank you for coming.
And with that, then, this subcommittee hearing is adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman.